This plant is Salvia leucantha, Mexican sage. Very popular perennial slash shrub in, at least in Western California. Use it a lot by the coast, and we use it a lot inland also. This can take a lot of heat. But actually, you know, it looks best, I find, near the coast, and the reason is it doesn't deal with the cold winter. When it gets frosty, this gets burned back, and basically all the foliage dies and it gets cut to the ground. I'd say in the low 30s to high 20s, the burn is enough that you're going to want to take this down. But even still, it comes roaring back usually. I've seen some of these die back if we had a really severe winter. And you get a plant that's typically 5 to 6 feet wide when they're mature. They seem to the clump in the internal clump seems to get a little bigger year by year. And I've also seen these almost, well, 4 feet tall for sure, but 3 to 4 feet tall is the height generally. They have a nice rounded form, as you'll see in the photograph. And these also come in a few different flower colors. Matter of fact, you're seeing that here. Do you see how these flowers are all purple? And then we go over here, and here's some side by side. These are kind of a raspberry color, and these have the purple and the white. So there's a few different varieties. You need to look at what's available and what the distinctions are. I've seen probably 3 or 4 variations on this plant. But other than that, they're pretty much the same. These are great in deer areas. I've had the worst deer areas I've ever handled. These plants were fine in that situation. The oil in these is nasty enough that the deer leave it alone. They're also fairly drought tolerant, but I'll tell you they do way better with some semi-regular water. So low water is okay, no water I don't recommend. And that's in a hot inland area. You might be able to get away with less water near the coast where there's not so much of a demand on the plant because of the cooler temperatures. These look nice in groupings, although again, so as a designer, if you're going to use this where these freeze back in the winter and it gets 5 feet wide, you're going to have a big hole in the winter. So just be aware of that. If you're going to use this and it gets cut back, you're going to use it in a place where it's not too prominent so that when it's gone during the winter, you don't have such a gaping hole. But if you're near the coast, I've seen this in Pacific Grove, Monterey, and just looks great all year long and nice and green, and can actually bloom virtually all year long depending on how you prune it and so forth. You do need to deadhead these. These flowers are not self-cleaning, so just know maintenance-wise that they need to be deadheaded. And essentially you can just deadhead these right below the bottom of the flower. I like to cut flower stalks 6 to 8 inches below where the flower is, and then that way when the stem divides it fills out up towards the top instead of just extending and getting taller and taller. So that is Salvia leucantha, Mexican sage.